Right. St. John's, which came into this game with number 6 UConn, riding a 13-game winning streak, went out of this game frozen solid like a package of green peas. St. John's literally missed its last 24 shots and finished with just 40 points, the lowest total of points in any of Rick Pitino's 1,224 games as a college coach. Red Storm my eye. UConn was up 14 when the drought started, up 32 at the buzzer. Wilbon, what do you make of this game, and where do you put the Huskies in the national picture?
Well, that's the only question. Where do I put the Huskies? And they could have won this game by a lot less than that. And they're going to be a 1 seed. They've lost 3 games. One of them was like to Arizona. They lost to St. John's. I mean, Tony, they're going to be a 1 seed, no lower than a 2. Because I can't see them losing more than 1 game, so that wouldn't drop them to a 3 necessarily. So the worst they could be in their wildest dreams is a 3 seed, but a 1 or a 2. In the meantime, what does the game mean? Nothing. Rick Pitino, as we know, is a Hall of Fame coach. Rick Pitino is going to use every drop of film study from that game, not to mention the laboratory that is the gymnasium he will send them to practice in, and they will be so much better for the next 2, 3, 5 games because of this. Do I think that the Rick Pitino's team is going to lay down like dogs? No, I don't, and I'm sure you don't either.
Yeah, let me just give you a couple of teams, 4 teams actually, that UConn has already beaten this year. BYU, Illinois, Kansas, and Florida. That's a really good list of teams they've beaten, so I don't worry about them.
Resume.
I found this game last night unbelievable, literally non-believable, that a D1 team of scholarship athletes, of NIL receiving scholarship athletes, could miss 24 shots in a row, could finish with 40 points, the number 15 team in the country. It's, to me, that was actually not possible. All right. Rick Pitino at the end of the game took off his beautifully tailored suit. By the way, they had 14 in the second half, 14 points. It wasn't running time. It was a regular 20-minute half. He takes off the beautiful suit. He puts on a sweatsuit. He blames himself for everything. Now, this is different than happened 2 years ago when they lost a game, and he blamed all of his players for everything and said they were physically weak. He learned from that. And if I felt that this was sincere, I would think it was very good. But I watched it. It wasn't necessarily sincere. You're right. They are going to be better. But the oddest thing is this, and I'll get out on this. 3 weeks ago, they beat UConn. They shot 50% and had 81 points. This is not to be believed what happened.
But Tony, it's a split. It's a split of conference rivals. It's all right. And Pitino, whether it's sincere or not, you make me laugh at that because, of course, it wasn't.
Not sincere.
But you know what is going to be sincere? His effort at getting them to be embarrassed and then better. That is what is going to be sincere about Rick Pitino. The National Football League Combine, Tony, is underway in Indy. But the talk around town isn't just about the college stars running around in their undies. NFL GMs are also reportedly discussing free agents and potential trades for established stars. So are you more interested in the measurements of college guys or the potential movement of vets?
I like some of the measurables. I like when they find a quarterback, his hands are too small, which is a no-no, like Joe Burrow. It's too bad that Joe Burrow never became a good quarterback because his hands are too small. Really? And I never understood why they measured the down lineman in the vertical jump. I mean, I don't really know what that's about. But I'm sure, like you, I am less interested in the draftees, most of whom I've never heard of, than I am in what's going on with veterans who I am aware of. For example, that movement of veterans. Will Miami keep Tua? Will Arizona keep their quarterback as well? Does Kyler Murray? Kyler Murray. Will they keep him? I know you want Max Crosby to go to Chicago. Yes. Will the Raiders keep Max Crosby? Will the Philadelphia Eagles keep A.J. Brown? Where is Aaron Rodgers going to go if he's going to go? Where is Kirk Cousins going to go? Will Indianapolis pay their quarterback, Daniel Jones? Here's the deal, Mike. This is the beginning, the kickoff of Hot Stove. And Hot Stove is great in basketball, it's great in baseball, and it's great in football. It's great.
No disagreement. By the way, don't forget about Cincinnati's Hendrickson. If we're talking about pass rushers who could be on the move, they can't, for back-to-back years, come to a contract situation. So, Tony, I'm interested in the vets and move, although I will say, and I need to be a little bit apologetic. You know how much I have hated the combine and cursed the combine.
Yeah, you want to tell the story?
Both on this
you want to
show
tell the story about Tuesday?
Oh,
yeah, you want to tell the story about Tuesday?
Yeah, I clicked
tell that story.
on
Go ahead, tell that
because
story.
it said Combine Live, and I clicked on. Too bad it was last year's Combine, but I watched anyway. But Tony, we need some up the middle pass rush help and a stout run defender in the same body.
We the Bears.
And so this kid that would be Caden McDonald with we need him in the middle. He's like 6'4", 360 pounds. So yes, I have my eye on certain positions out of the rookies and their measurables. Yes, I do.
You're like a full-fledged assistant coach now without portfolio.
Yeah.
You watched last year's combine 2 days ago.
Only a couple of
You
minutes.
didn't even know. Let's go to the NBA in 2 of last night's featured games. Detroit beat Oklahoma City in Detroit 124-116, but Oklahoma City was missing its top 4 scorers at the tip and finished without its top 6 scorers. Denver routed Boston in Denver last night 103-84 with Nikola Jokic getting 30 points and 12 rebounds. These are 4 of the top 5 teams by wins in the entire NBA. Wilbon, what was the more intriguing outcome to you?
Denver. It was Denver, Tony, beating the Celtics. And look, the Celtics at the end of a road trip, and it's, we talk about schedule losses. And the NBA has more schedule losses than any other league, where you can look at it 3 weeks ago, and they're not getting that game. The Celtics weren't getting this game. But I digress. Nikola Jokic, I told you yesterday, I don't think he's going to miss another game. And I think he will be eligible for the MVP award because of that in terms of the voting. So, Tony, I thought that was it. Oklahoma City played their JV. And by the way, they are so deep and so talented that they can press Detroit in Detroit even without their dudes, even without the MVP, SGA. So that was fine. But I think Denver, look, I picked Denver this year when I didn't know what San Antonio was going to be or they were going to come this quickly, and I don't pick people to repeat. I have had Denver, and so this is a fascination to me.
I disagree with this. I mean, I fully expected that result. Okay. The other one, I thought that Detroit was going to have an easy game. I thought they were going to be up by a lot of points early. They were playing a phantom team. There's nobody out there for Oklahoma City. They're at home, and they have just come off a bad loss at home to San Antonio. They were down 12 at the first quarter. They were only up 6 at the half. Mike, that was a 3-point game with 5 minutes to go, and it's not like Cade Cunningham went 5 for 26 because he went 11 for 16. Mike, if I was a fan of the Detroit Pistons, I would be discouraged now. I would think these were 2 underachieving games at home in a row. San Antonio and Oklahoma City, who didn't have anybody out there. I watched a lot of that game. I couldn't believe it. I thought Detroit would sprint out, and they didn't.
Tony, the only pushback I would give is that there was probably a little bit of a letdown coming out of that loss to San Antonio at home. Tony, Oklahoma City has 20 guys who can play. Oklahoma City has, like we used to call it in pro football, a taxi squad. Oklahoma City has dudes at home that can come out and get you 20. They just do. They're that deep.
Gilgeous Alexander wasn't out there, and Holmgren wasn't out there, and Hartenstein wasn't out there.
They still got dudes.
A lot of guys. Well, maybe they do, but I expected something different. Let's take a break because I watched it. Jail analyst PK Subban. Let's start with this. You are Canadian. How does the loss to the United States in the Olympics, the Olympic gold medal hockey game, sit with Canadians? And do you see that changing the Canadians' approach going forward?
Well, for me personally, I hope it tweaks their approach. I mean, there's no question they could have ended that thing in overtime multiple times, and throughout the game they had their chance. They don't have McKinnon, they don't have McDavid, but what they do have is depth and strength in numbers, and they were able to get a lot more players, in my opinion, exhausted by the end of the tournament. Canada failed, in my opinion, to get everybody involved. Now, did that cost them? No, that didn't cost them the tournament, but ultimately put USA in a position to take the tournament. And how did they do that? Connor Hellebuck, obviously, involved. Celebrini was awesome. McDavid was awesome. McKinnon was awesome. Makar was great. They were tired at the end of the tournament. And Makar, what happens when you're tired? You make poor decisions. Canadians are going to take that one tough because when you look at your best and look at the whole tournament, Team Canada should have had more guys involved. You can't have your best players out of gas at the end of the tournament. That's when you need them the most, is in that overtime. And to me, Team Canada wasn't prepared enough for the format. To me, Schaefer should have been there. Josh Morrissey, once you knew he was out, you only got one defenseman that can move the puck up the ice, Cale Makar. Well, that's why he's tired in overtime. So they needed another D. I'm not saying Schaefer was the guy. Maybe if Morrissey wasn't hurt, that gives him that look, but they didn't have enough. And in my opinion, when you get out goaltended and you don't score on a 5-on-3, you're going to lose that tournament. And Team USA took advantage of it. So Canadians got a right to be upset, but they're going to have to tweak how they put together the next roster and how they bring guys in. They need more guys involved.
Well, one guy I'm sure they'd like to have had out there was Sidney Crosby, who, of course, got hurt and will start to transition back to the NHL season resumed, out for at least 4 weeks. And, of course, the Penguins are in the playoffs right now, PK. But how big a blow is this? Because you see the Penguins sliding because Crosby is missing so much time.
You know, I'm a little bit optimistic. We know that this is going to hurt them. Let's be real about it. You can't replace Sidney Crosby. I don't care who you put in the lineup or what trade you make. You ain't replacing. No, they've had a great season. Give Kyle Dubas and them credit. They've managed to bring in young players. Chinnikov on their third line. They got bigger with Brazeau and Mantha on the wings. Malkin's playing better. Novak, Kindle, some of the young players that they brought in. They still have one of the best fourth lines in hockey. Their D looks okay. I know they got Carlson, who's still got to make sure that he's consistent every night, but I don't mind it. And they pick up Skinner, who's obviously looking better than Christian Jarry right now, who gave up 6 goals last night. So they're not in a terrible position in the second half, but losing Crosby's going to hurt them. So they're going to have to weather that storm. Hopefully he can get back earlier.
We got to talk about the Panthers for a second. Of course, they beat the Oilers for the Cup the last 2 seasons, and they're just sort of out of it. They're not the Panthers team that we necessarily expected. But where is Edmonton, PK? Do you see the Oilers as sort of, I don't know, being re-energized by all this? Is there a run coming out of them over the next few weeks?
Well, this is getting repetitive, and I feel the only reason why I come positive with the Oilers is because of Connor McDavid, and he deserves to have 10 rings right now with how great he is, and I just don't see how that's going to happen in Edmonton. They're going to have to show me. First of all, in net, like, they got to get in net figured out. Christian Jarry gives up 6 last night. That's not a great start to come in against a team of Anaheim. So we know up front, they're front-loaded. They're heavy up front. We know they have the experience to put the pressure on teams. Can their defense get it done? And to me, if their defense doesn't get it done, their goaltending is going to be left out to dry. So they're going to have to make some moves. I still do believe they're in a better position than they were last year and the year before. They're going to have to show me, because I think Connor McDavid understands that there's so much competitive balance in the league right now. It's up for grabs. So you can't get too caught up in losing streaks and winning streaks. You got to keep forging on and just get in. And if they get in, we know they're a dangerous team. But their goaltending and defense, for me, just aren't good enough. I don't know how to say it.
We got to get you out of here quickly. So we're going to ask this question quick and ask for a quick answer. The Avalanche dominated the early part of the season. Do you see Colorado as the team to beat now?
Well, for their offensive players, I hope they have energy come the playoffs, because those guys hum. I mean, the way they play fast and play with the puck. But the Minnesota Wild, they are going to have to get through Minnesota and Dallas to do that. I think Minnesota's the team that's gunning for them right now. I don't have to hear that out of that locker room, but I see Quinn Hughes. I see Brock Faber. I see Matt Boldy. I see Kaprizov. I see potential depth players coming in. They got great D. Minnesota's a problem, and I think that they're only going to get better as the season goes on. That's the team for me to watch. You know, Dallas is dangerous too. You got to give them credit, but we've seen them year over year. They have to prove that they're ready to take that next step. I think Minnesota's got a lot of firepower. They got a lot of energy, and I think they want Colorado.
PK, it's a pleasure. I'm so glad to have you
good
back.
To have you
we
back.
haven't seen
Yes,
you in
sir.
months. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for having me back, guys. It's always a pleasure. I hope to see you guys soon.
You can catch PK on the Point tonight, followed by the Rangers and Flyers and the Kings and the Oilers. Let's take one last break. Still to come, the Colts give Anthony Richardson permission